Hey everyone, this is Leo from TechLine, and today we're going to be doing a store update with another build. This time it's going to be a flip from a PC I featured on a previous video, a teardown of the Advantec i5-6400 with the parts going into a more gamer-appropriate build. But before we do that, this video is brought to you by us over at TechLinePCs.com, where you can check out our store for custom mid-range builds along with our consolation page, where you can fill in whether you'd like an upgrade, a new build, a pre-built PC, along with a budget, and we'll work with you on the PC of your choice. Check us out again over at TechLinePCs.com. So for the parts that we've got inside of this PC, it's already going to be utilizing an Intel i5-6700 with the stock cooler, 4x4GB sticks of PC2666 memory for a total of 16 gigs, and an ASUS GeForce GTX 1650 Super. And they're plugged into an ASUS H170M Plus Micro ATX motherboard. Since practically 80% of the parts are already done, the only thing I really have to do here is tear out all the friendlier components and install them into a case, provide appropriate power, and slap on an M.2 drive, and we're good to go. As an added bonus, I usually like to throw in a Wi-Fi dongle so my customers can have wireless support right out of the box. So let's go ahead and just start tearing out and gutting all the components from this build and kind of go through the whole procedure step by step from there. Now, I'd already tested these components in a previous video that you could check on the top right corner, but I'll retest them after they're all installed inside of their new case. First, we'll want to take out all these hideous power cables from this graphics card, unscrew it from the case, and get it popped out from the PCI Express slot. Funny enough, it looks like they completely forgot to peel the film off of this card covering the backplate, so it's going to look pretty pristine with very little cleaning needed. And that's a good peel from there. This box also did come with a pair of gigabit Ethernet adapters, which I'm sure seen some use, but for the purpose of this flip, they're not going to carry over to the final build, so I'll set them aside and see about maybe selling them online or something. Lastly, all we have to do is unplug these 24-pin power cable from the motherboard itself and get it removed from the chassis. I do have to say that for the haul of hardware that I got recently, this one came out incredibly clean and practically ready to go. All I really need to do from here is just get all this popped in with an M.2 drive and throw it into a case and power supply. We're pretty much good to go from there. So for the storage, I went with a 1TB stick from MSI, the Spatium M371. I found a slew of these on sale, so I grabbed a whole bunch of them that I'm going to be utilizing in a variety of upcoming builds of mine, so stay tuned for that. Now, we'll simply get it popped out onto the plastic encasing and locate the M.2 slot on the motherboard itself, screw it down, and we're pretty much good to go. As for the case that we're utilizing here, it's going to be the Fractal Pop Mini Air, a very affordable micro ATX case with fantastic cable routing, a very sleek design, and includes 3 controllable ARGB fans. For our I/O, we got ourselves ports up top with a pair of USB 3.0 ports and an expansion slot that's for optional USB-C if you want to get an adapter for it. I've built in the bigger brother version of this case for a commission that I've done a couple of months ago for a customer in a cyan color, and you could check out that build over on the top right corner as well. Replacing that ugly ketchup and mustard mess of cables from the previous case, we're going to be utilizing a 500-watt EVGA power supply. It's non-modular, but at the price class that this PC is going to be going for, it's nice to just have a sleek all-black cable look, and it's already an upgrade over what we were previously using. Now what we'll be doing is we'll simply just get it settled at the bottom of the case and get it screwed in. Then comes the absolutely fun part of splitting out all the cables that we're going to need. Now, the cables that we're going to be needing are going to be the SATA cables for the ARGB fans, and the 8-pin video card cable, the 8-pin for the processor, and the 24-pin for the motherboard. We'll simply snake all of these power cables through the appropriate cable management areas and plug them right onto the appropriate ports on the motherboard, leaving the PCI Express cable to hang out for just a moment. Now, my favorite component always gets installed last, the video card. I already removed the 2 expansion slot covers from the back, so all that we really have to do now is just pop it into the PCI Express port that it was already very comfortable with earlier, screw it into the case, and get those bits of power plugged right on in. At this point, the case is essentially 95% done, so what we're going to do is get Windows installed on it and test out some games to make sure that it's fully operational. Now with a system like this, we do need to keep our expectations low, as in low settings for most of these games, as this was a 4-year-old mid-range graphic card by this point, so when you're talking about 2023 gaming, it's going to be bumped down a little bit to low end, but that's fine. We'll just go through a couple of esports titles and single-player title games for good measure. So starting off first with Counter-Strike Global Offensive, running the benchmark tool from the Community Hub, we have 163 FPS on high, so you can kind of expect above 60 FPS in essentially all esports games out there with the appropriate settings like this. Our second esports game is actually going to be my personal favorite battle royale title, Apex Legends, which running at 1080p low, averaging at 105 FPS. Again, quite a playable experience. For things in a more demanding, newer side that was just released recently, Street Fighter 6, which I've been dumping a ton of hours into lately, 1080p low settings, and it's playing at a locked 60 FPS, which is exactly what you want when it comes to a fighting game. Over in Elden Ring, this was actually being kind of an oddball for me when I was testing it. No matter what resolution that I put it at, between 720p, 900p, 1080, low settings, or high settings, it seems like the frame rate capped itself at 45 FPS, and I'm uncertain if this might be something on the user error side of thing or a setting that I couldn't find, but I know the 1650 Super can actually handle this game at 60 FPS, but for whatever reason, there was something weird going on with this playtest, and I just wasn't going to spend too much time after this to figure it out. And one final game that I decided to run was going to be the Resident Evil 4 2023 Remake demo. 75 FPS 1080p, running it on performance mode, a completely playable experience for such a beloved title. So now that we know that the internals are fully functional, let's finish up with getting the external bits and bobs finished, namely the ARGB lights and some of the cable management. I did mention earlier that this motherboard doesn't include any ARGB pins. However, the case does provide us with a blessing that lets us daisy chain all of the ARGB lights from the fans and plug them directly into a port that's already built onto the case itself. So that way we can simply switch between different colors on the go. From static to pulsing, rainbow colors to solid colors. It's got a nice preset that someone can already work with at the push of a button. And it's going to wrap it up for this build from here. We'll just get all the cables tied down, the PC cleaned up, and put it in a box to be ready to ship off to a customer. I'm definitely loving the way that this flip turned out. Check out this PC and others over at our shop at techlionpcs.com, or you can also hit us up for consultation or commission a build of your own. Until next time, this is Leo signing out.